What if one flower could stop pests from wrecking your garden, naturally and without sprays? No chemicals, just nature doing what it does best. Welcome to a smarter, simpler way to protect your beds. If you want more natural pest control wisdom, hit subscribe now and join our community of gardeners who choose healthier, easier solutions. Stay with me because Plant 1 will set the stage for how this whole system works, and you'll see how one simple pairing can make a tomato bed thrive. Plant 1. Marigolds, the garden's secret weapon. Marigolds are more than pretty faces in the border. They release compounds underground that help suppress soil pests that attack roots, like nematodes, which can cripple tomatoes and beans. Above ground, their scent helps deter aphids, whiteflies, and beetles that love to chew on leafy greens and fruiting veggies. For mature gardens in North American climates, marigolds can be grown as a border around tomatoes, peppers, beans, cucumbers, and squash. In zones 6 through 9, you'll typically see robust flowering from late spring through fall, providing ongoing pest deterrent benefits when planted near the crops you value most. Pyrethrum compounds found in marigold flowers act as a natural insect deterrent. How to plant? Space plants about 12 to 18 inches apart around the edge of your main beds, or intersperse them among tomatoes to create a protective halo. Best companions: tomatoes, peppers, beans, cucumbers, and squash. Quick tip: for best root protection, plant marigolds early in the season so their roots establish as your crop roots begin to grow. Plant 2. Nasturtiums, the sacrificial shield. Nasturtiums are the ultimate team players in your garden. These cheerful flowers act as a trap crop, meaning pests find them so irresistible they'll ignore your cucumbers, squash, and beans completely. Think of nasturtiums as the decoy that takes the hit so your vegetables can thrive. Aphids, flea beetles, squash bugs, and cucumber beetles will swarm nasturtium leaves and stems, leaving your food crops untouched. Last summer, a gardener in Ohio planted nasturtiums as a border around her cucumber bed. The nasturtiums got covered in aphids, but her cucumbers stayed clean, not a single pest. It's like they created a force field around the vegetables. What it repels? Aphids, flea beetles, squash bugs, cucumber beetles, whiteflies, and even fruit borers. How to plant? Start nasturtiums a few weeks before your main crops so they're established and attractive when pests arrive in spring. Plant them around the edges of cucumber, squash, and tomato beds, or grow climbing varieties on trellises to create vertical barriers. Space them about 10 to 12 inches apart. Best companions: cucumbers, squash, tomatoes, radishes, brassicas like cabbage and kale. Nasturtium flowers are edible and add a peppery kick to salads. You get pest control and a garnish in one plant. Plant 3. Basil, the aromatic protector. You know basil as the star of pesto and caprese salad, but in the garden, it's your tomato's best friend. Basil's essential oils mask the scent of tomato plants, making it harder for hornworms, flies, and aphids to find them. When you plant basil at the base of tomatoes, the aromatic oils create a scent barrier that confuses pests and keeps them moving. In zones 5 through 10 across the USA, Canada, and the UK, basil thrives in warm weather alongside tomatoes and peppers. What it repels? Mosquitoes, flies, hornworms, thrips, aphids, and whiteflies. Basil contains compounds like eugenol and linalool, natural insect repellents that disrupt pest navigation systems. These oils are released from the leaves, especially when brushed or when the sun warms them. How to plant? Plant basil seedlings 8 to 12 inches from the base of tomato plants. You can also tuck basil between pepper plants or along the edges of raised beds. Best companions: tomatoes, peppers, asparagus, and oregano. Let some basil flower. The blooms attract parasitic wasps and bees. The wasps hunt down caterpillars, while the bees improve pollination. It's a win-win for your garden. Plant 4. Lavender, the fragrant guardian. Lavender's sweet aroma attracts bees and gardeners, but pests can't stand it. Moths, fleas, mosquitoes, ticks, and flies all keep their distance when lavender is nearby. In North American gardens from British Columbia to Massachusetts, lavender thrives in well-drained soil and full sun, making it perfect for borders and perennial beds. The essential oils in lavender, especially linalool and camphor, overwhelm insect senses and disrupt their ability to locate host plants. What it repels: aphids, mosquitoes, moths, fleas, ticks, flies, spider mites, whiteflies, and beetles. How to plant. Space lavender plants 18 to 24 inches apart in sunny spots with good drainage. Plant them as a border around vegetable beds or near outdoor seating areas to keep mosquitoes away. Lavender is perennial in zones 5 through 9, so it comes back year after year. Best companions: tomatoes, carrots, leeks, brassicas like cabbage and broccoli, and fruit trees. Lavender flowers attract pollinators and beneficial insects. You can also harvest the blooms for sachets, which repel moths in closets and drawers. Plant 5. Mint, the aggressive defender. Mint is a double-edged sword. Its strong aroma repels ants, flea beetles, aphids, cabbage moths, spider mites, and whiteflies. But here's the catch: mint spreads like wildfire. Plant it in the ground and it'll take over your entire garden bed within a season. The solution? Grow mint in containers and place those pots near your brassicas, tomatoes, and peppers. You get all the pest protection without the invasion. What it repels: ants, flea beetles, aphids, cabbage moths, whiteflies, spider mites, and even rodents. How to plant. Use 8 to 10-inch pots filled with well-draining potting soil. Position the pots around vulnerable crops like cabbage, kale, and tomatoes. Mint thrives in partial shade to full sun and needs regular watering. Best companions: cabbage, kale, broccoli, tomatoes, peppers, carrots, beans, and peas. Warning: if you must plant mint in the ground, use barriers like buried edging or plant it in an isolated corner far from other crops. Has mint ever taken over your garden? You're not alone. Hit the subscribe button and drop a comment and share your mint story. Plant 6. Rosemary, the Mediterranean fortress. Rosemary isn't just for roasting chicken, it's a pest-fighting powerhouse. This woody herb repels mosquitoes, carrot flies, cabbage moths, slugs, snails, beetles, and spider mites with its pungent, pine-like scent. Rosemary's strong aroma confuses harmful insects, leading to healthier carrots, stronger peppers, and better yields across the board. In North American zones 7 through 10, rosemary thrives as a perennial, providing year-round protection. In cooler zones like 5 and 6, grow it in containers and bring it indoors during winter. What it repels? Mosquitoes, flies, slugs, snails, beetles, cabbage moths, carrot flies, and spider mites. How to plant? Space rosemary plants 18 to 24 inches apart in well-drained soil and full sun. Plant it near garden borders or between rows of vegetables. Rosemary prefers drier soil, so pair it with plants that have similar water needs like carrots, beans, and cabbage. Best companions? Carrots, beans, cabbage, broccoli, peppers, sage, and lavender. Pro tip: rosemary attracts beneficial insects like ladybugs and bees while driving pests away. Let it flower in spring for maximum pollinator activity. Plant 7. Chrysanthemums, the chemical factory. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Chrysanthemums produce pyrethrin, a natural insecticide so effective it's used in commercial bug sprays. These gorgeous flowers repel roaches, ants, beetles, ticks, fleas, lice, bedbugs, spider mites, Japanese beetles, mosquitoes, flies, and aphids. Pyrethrin attacks the nervous systems of insects, paralyzing them on contact, but it's harmless to humans and breaks down quickly in sunlight. Across the USA, Canada, and the UK, chrysanthemums bloom in late summer and fall, providing a powerful pest barrier when other garden defenses are winding down. What it repels? Roaches, ants, beetles, ticks, fleas, lice, bedbugs, spider mites, Japanese beetles, mosquitoes, flies, and aphids. How it works? Pyrethrin disrupts insect nervous systems, causing paralysis. Unlike synthetic chemicals, pyrethrins are biodegradable and leave little environmental impact. How to plant? Use chrysanthemums as a border plant around the perimeter of your entire garden for maximum protection. Space them 12 to 18 inches apart in full sun. They thrive in zones 5 through 9. Plant chrysanthemums around tomatoes, peppers, squash, beans, and ornamental beds to create a protective shield. This is nature's insect spray factory right in your garden. You're looking at centuries-old pest control wisdom backed by modern science. Plant 8. Petunias, the colorful bouncer. Petunias are like the bouncers of the garden. They keep the riffraff out. These cheerful flowers repel asparagus beetles, aphids, leafhoppers, tomato hornworms, squash bugs, and bean beetles. The secret to petunia success? Their sticky stamens trap insects who can't escape and eventually die. In North American gardens from coast to coast, petunias bloom continuously from late spring through the first frost, providing season-long pest protection. They thrive in full sun and work especially well in containers positioned strategically around raised beds. What it repels? Aphids, leafhoppers, tomato hornworms, squash bugs, and asparagus beetles and bean beetles. How to plant? Petunias require full sun and can spread aggressively, so consider growing them in containers and placing those pots at each corner of your raised beds for portable pest protection. Space in-ground petunias 10 to 12 inches apart. Best companions? Tomatoes, peppers, squash, beans, potatoes, cucumbers, brassicas, asparagus, and sweet corn. Petunias attract hummingbirds, adding movement and color to your garden while keeping pests away. Which petunia color do you love most? Pink, purple, or white? Drop a comment and let me know what's blooming in your beds this season. If you're finding real value in these natural pest solutions and you want to keep your garden thriving without harsh chemicals, hit that subscribe button now. We're building a community of gardeners who work with nature, not against it. Plant 9. Garlic and chives, the stinky saviors. Here's the biggest mistake gardeners make with companion planting: planting companions too far apart. Alliums like garlic and chives have powerful pest-repelling aromas, but they only work when planted close to your vulnerable crops, within 12 to 18 inches. Garlic and chives naturally repel aphids, carrot root flies, Japanese beetles, cabbage worms, and spider mites. Their strong sulfur compounds confuse pests and mask the scent of nearby vegetables. In North American gardens from Ontario to Texas, garlic and chives thrive in zones 3 through 9, providing reliable pest protection through the growing season. What they repel? Aphids, carrot root flies, Japanese beetles, cabbage worms, spider mites, and slugs. How to plant? Plant garlic cloves or chive seedlings directly alongside carrots, tomatoes, peppers, roses, and strawberries. Space chives 6 to 8 inches apart and garlic cloves 4 to 6 inches apart in rows between your main crops. Don't relegate them to the far edge of the bed. Tuck them right in where pests are most likely to strike. Best companions? Carrots, tomatoes, peppers, roses, strawberries, brassicas, and fruit trees. Bonus benefit: garlic chive flowers are beautiful white blooms that attract pollinators and beneficial insects while repelling pests. It's a win-win. Let them flower in late summer for maximum impact. Have you tried planting garlic near your tomatoes? Tell us how it worked in the comments below. Plant 10. Borage, the pollinator magnet. Borage is a miracle worker. Its bright blue, star-shaped flowers attract bees, ladybugs, hoverflies, and lacewings, beneficial insects that pollinate your crops and eat pests like aphids and cabbage worms. Borage acts as a dual-purpose plant. It repels hornworms and cabbage worms while attracting nature's pest control team. In gardens across the USA, Canada, and the UK, borage thrives in zones 3 through 10, flowering from late spring through early fall. The flowers are a magnet for pollinators, and the leaves add trace minerals to the soil, improving overall plant health. What it attracts and repels. It attracts pollinators and predatory insects like ladybugs and parasitic wasps. It repels hornworms and cabbage worms. How to plant. Sow borage seeds directly in the garden near tomatoes, squash, strawberries, and brassicas. Space plants 12 to 18 inches apart in full sun to partial shade. Borage self-seeds readily, so it will come back year after year once established. Best companions: tomatoes, squash, strawberries, brassicas like cabbage and broccoli, and cucumbers. Borage is a dynamic accumulator, meaning its deep roots pull nutrients like potassium and calcium from deep in the soil and make them available to shallow-rooted plants nearby. Pro tip: let borage flowers stay on the plant throughout the season. The more blooms, the more beneficial insects you'll attract to hunt down aphids and caterpillars. If you're enjoying this video, hit the like and subscribe button and join the winning garden community. Plant 11. Catnip, the ultra-potent repellent. Remember when I said one plant is more powerful than lavender? Meet catnip. Studies show catnip is at least as effective as DEET, the chemical in bug sprays, at repelling mosquitoes, and some research suggests it's 10 times more effective. Catnip contains nematode, a compound that triggers pain receptors in insects, causing them to flee. Mosquitoes, aphids, flea beetles, squash bugs, ants, and Japanese beetles all avoid catnip like the plague. In zones 3 through 9 across North America, catnip grows vigorously and spreads easily, making it a low-maintenance powerhouse. What it repels? Mosquitoes, aphids, flea beetles, squash bugs, ants, Japanese beetles, and flies. Nematode activates TRPA1 receptors in insects, triggering sensations similar to pain and irritation. Insects sense catnip as a chemical threat and avoid it. How to plant. Plant catnip around outdoor seeding areas near eggplant, squash, and colored greens. Space plants 18 to 24 inches apart in full sun to partial shade. Catnip prefers well-drained soil and tolerates drought once established. Best companions: eggplant, squash, colored greens, tomatoes, cucumbers, and anywhere you want to keep mosquitoes away. Warning and bonus: if you have cats, they'll roll in it and go wild. Plant catnip where you don't mind feline visitors, or use containers to control access. Personal tip: you can rub fresh catnip leaves between your hands and apply them to your skin for about 30 minutes of mosquito-free time while you work in the garden. Plant 12. Dill, the beneficial insect beacon. Dill's umbrella-shaped yellow flowers are like a neon sign for beneficial insects. It attracts ladybugs, parasitic wasps, lacewings, and hoverflies, all natural predators that devour aphids, caterpillars, and beetle larvae by the hundreds. Dill repels aphids, spider mites, cabbage loopers, and hornworms while simultaneously inviting the good guys into your garden. In North American zones 3 through 9, dill thrives in full sun and well-drained soil, flowering from midsummer through early fall if planted early in spring. What it repels and attracts. Repels aphids, spider mites, cabbage loopers, and hornworms. Attracts ladybugs, parasitic wasps, hoverflies, and lacewings. How to plant. Sow dill seeds directly near cucumbers, lettuce, onions, and brassicas in early spring. Space plants 8 to 12 inches apart in full sun. Dill takes 10 to 12 weeks to flower, so plant it early for summer protection. Best companions: cucumbers, lettuce, onions, brassicas like cabbage and broccoli, and corn. Succession plant dill every 3 weeks to ensure continuous blooms and ongoing beneficial insect activity throughout the growing season. Dill leaves can be harvested for cooking while the plants are still young. Once they flower, let the blooms stay to attract predatory insects. Plant 13. Geraniums, the deer and beetle deterrent. The one plant that even keeps deer away. Geraniums have a strong, slightly bitter scent that deer, rabbits, and most beetles find repulsive. They'll walk right past your garden when geraniums stand guard. But here's the fascinating twist. Geraniums actually paralyze Japanese beetles. Within 30 minutes of eating geranium petals, Japanese beetles roll over on their backs, their legs twitch, and they remain paralyzed for several hours. In the field, predators like birds spot these helpless beetles and finish the job. Across North American gardens in zones 4 through 10, geraniums bloom continuously all summer in gorgeous reds, pinks, and whites, providing both beauty and powerful pest protection. What it repels: mosquitoes, leafhoppers, ticks, cabbage worms, Japanese beetles, deer, and rabbits. How it works: geranium petals contain compounds that disrupt the nervous systems of Japanese beetles, causing temporary paralysis that often leads to death under field conditions. How to plant: plant geraniums as a border around roses, brassicas, corn, and grapes. Space plants 12 to 15 inches apart in full sun to partial shade. Use them strategically around garden perimeters where deer and rabbits are a problem. Geraniums provide nonstop color from late spring through the first frost, making them as ornamental as they are functional. Plant 14. Thyme, the low-growing shield. Thyme is perfect for interplanting because it stays low to the ground. Its aromatic oils repel cabbage maggots, whiteflies, hornworms, flea beetles, and mosquitoes, while attracting bees and beneficial insects for pollination. In North American zones 5 through 9, thyme thrives as a perennial ground cover, coming back year after year with minimal care. Gardeners who integrate thyme throughout their vegetable beds report about 60% fewer pest problems compared to beds without thyme. What it repels: cabbage maggots, mosquitoes, hornworms, whiteflies, flea beetles, and carrot flies. How to plant: use creeping thyme as ground cover between rows of taller vegetables like tomatoes, broccoli, and cabbage. Space thyme plants 8 to 12 inches apart in full sun and well-drained soil. Position thyme on the sunny side of taller plants so it gets plenty of light while offering pest protection to neighbors. Best companions: cabbage, tomatoes, eggplant, potatoes, strawberries, carrots, onions, and garlic. Creeping thyme suppresses weeds, retains soil moisture, and creates habitat for beneficial insects. As a perennial, it provides ongoing protection year after year with zero replanting. Pro tip: harvest and cut fresh thyme for cooking throughout the season. When you cut it, you release more of those pest-deterring essential oils into the air. Plant 15. Calendula, the trap crop champion. Don't confuse calendula with regular marigolds. They're different plants with different superpowers. Calendula acts as a trap crop for aphids and whiteflies, luring them away from your vegetables. It also attracts ladybugs, lacewings, and hoverflies, beneficial predators that hunt down pests by the hundreds. In zones 3 through 9 across the USA, Canada, and the UK, calendula blooms from early summer through fall with bright orange and yellow flowers that look stunning in vegetable beds. What it attracts and traps? Traps aphids and whiteflies, attracts ladybugs, lacewings, and hoverflies, and other beneficial predatory insects. How to plant? Sow calendula seeds or transplants near tomatoes, asparagus, potatoes, and throughout vegetable beds. Space plants 12 to 15 inches apart in full sun to partial shade. Calendula self-seeds readily, so it will return year after year once established. Best companions: tomatoes, asparagus, potatoes, brassicas, cucumbers, and anywhere you need to trap aphids away from main crops. Calendula petals are edible and add brilliant color to salads, soups, and baked goods. You get pest control and a gourmet garnish in one plant. Calendula is more attractive to aphids than your vegetables, so aphids swarm the calendula while leaving your tomatoes and peppers clean. You can remove heavily infested calendula plants or let beneficial insects devour the aphids naturally. Plant 16. Alyssum, the tiny powerhouse. Sweet alyssum is a low-growing flower that edges garden beds beautifully while attracting beneficial insects like hoverflies, whose larvae eat aphids by the hundreds. In North American gardens from coast to coast, alyssum thrives in zones 5 through 9, blooming continuously from spring through fall in white, pink, and purple. This little flower is low maintenance, self-seeds readily, and requires almost no care once established. What it attracts: hoverflies, bees, parasitic wasps, and other beneficial insects that prey on aphids, thrips, and caterpillars. How to plant? Use alyssum to edge raised beds and garden borders. Space plants 6 to 8 inches apart in full sun to partial shade. Alyssum tolerates poor soil and drought once established, making it ideal for busy gardeners. Best companions: potatoes, carrots, beans, brassicas like cabbage and kale, tomatoes, and cucumbers. Alyssum requires minimum maintenance and reseeds itself year after year. Once you plant it, it becomes a permanent member of your garden defense team. Alyssum's delicate flowers create a beautiful contrast against larger vegetables and herbs, adding visual interest while serving a functional purpose. Plant 17. Tansy, the potent finale. We're ending with a powerhouse, tansy. This plant repels ants, flies, moths, beetles, mosquitoes, Japanese beetles, and even mice. Tansy's button-like yellow flowers are packed with pest-repelling compounds that create a strong barrier around garden beds. But here's the critical warning: tansy is toxic to pets and livestock, and it spreads aggressively. Only plant it in controlled areas away from animals. In zones 3 through 9, tansy thrives in full sun and spreads rapidly, so containment is essential. What it repels: ants, flies, mosquitoes, moths, beetles, Japanese beetles, and mice. How to plant? Grow tansy in containers or isolated garden corners, never in open areas where pets or livestock roam. Space plants 18 to 24 inches apart in full sun. Use barriers or containers to prevent aggressive spreading. Plant tansy near compost bins, sheds, or outbuildings where you want to keep flies and mice away. Keep it far from vegetable beds where pets might wander. If you have pets, stick with plants 1 through 16 instead. There are plenty of safe, effective options on this list. Start with 3 to 5 companion plants this season. Don't overwhelm yourself. Mix flowers and herbs throughout your vegetable beds, not just at the edges. Plant companions within 12 to 18 inches of the crops you're protecting. Remember, companion planting works best as part of a healthy garden ecosystem with good soil, proper watering, and crop rotation. Which companion plant are you trying first? Comment your choice below and let me know how it goes. If this video saved you from using harsh chemicals and opened your eyes to nature's pest control system, hit the like and subscribe buttons and comment "Thank you." Try one of these 17 plants and let me know how it transforms your garden. Until next time, happy gardening!